much for tuning in to today's Caribbean conversation. The topic of today's discussion is the woman's fight against sexual assault and harassment. My name is Aisha Townsend, and I am the coordinator for the SFSI program, Students for Students Initiative, and it is under the larger umbrella of the Caribbean Returning Nationals Foundation. I'm so happy that you've been able to tune in. This is an exceptional conversation with three exceptional people. Today, the conversation is led by Rose Minor, Kristen Holness, and Barrington Salmon. And you're definitely in for a great episode. They carry on a very deep and thought-provoking conversation about what does sexual assault and harassment look like and how does it affect our generation and the Caribbean as a whole. So please stay tuned, sit back, and enjoy this episode. Please like and share this episode with family and friends and carry on this conversation. Continue to talk about this issue and figure out ways how you can make an impact in your community. So thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy this episode. You could also find us on social media. Our links will be provided down below in the description box. So I look forward to having more of these conversations, these Caribbean conversations, and I look forward to participating in them. And hopefully in the next one, I will be there. So enjoy this episode and let us know what you think.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. This roundtable is presented by the Caribbean Returning Nationals Foundation. The name of the roundtable is Caribbean CommVersations. This platform is an opportunity for people in the Caribbean, particularly young people, and people living in the diaspora to engage in particular conversations regarding issues the region is facing. So I guess we can go around, we can introduce ourselves. Hi, my name is Rose Minor. I am an outreach coordinator for Caribbean Returning Nationals Foundation. Very pleased to meet you.
Hi, I'm Kristen Holness. I'm a student at SUNY New Paltz in New York State. I'm a volunteer for Caribbean Returning Nationals Foundation.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Barrington Salmon. I'm a freelance journalist, writer, and public relations practitioner, currently living in Washington, D.C. We're going to be talking about sexual harassment and related issues in the Caribbean. And I want to thank you all for agreeing to be a part of this. I'm going to be asking questions to give the viewers and anyone who comes in contact with a sense of what the issues look like in the Caribbean and what, if anything, is being done to eradicate this scourge, this problem. What does sexual harassment look like? And how pervasive is it if you know that?
Kristen, would you like to start?
Okay. Well, from my background, I live in a predominantly Black neighborhood in Queens, New York. That's in New York City. And there's the communities that I go between have, I would say, a lot of Caribbean people. As a female myself walking around these communities, sexual harassment would be just men, when you're walking on the street, they're just catcalling out to you, or as they're driving down the street, they'll roll down their window and drive slow and try to talk to you, interrupt your day. It's not done in a I guess, a nice manner or a pleasant manner, but it's more of sort of like, I have the right to talk to you how I want to, so I can do that. And even now, in this day and age, I would say a lot of sexual harassment can happen on the internet by people just sending unwarranted photos or demanding unwarranted photos, or just, doing things that are inappropriate in a sexual manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. There's a lot happening right now with the rise of technology and the internet. Well, I primarily live in a Black neighborhood in Richmond, Virginia. I would say the first time where I really experienced a lot of catcalling was when I was a graduate student in Washington, D.C. I wasn't particularly sure if that was due to like the area of being in a larger city where there's, you know, a lot more people. But, you know, sexual harassment is anywhere from just these absurd like calling of women, like basically how they look. So if somebody's looking at a woman and they look at her body, they look at her in a certain way, and they decide to talk in a manner that is very just sexualized, that is sexual harassment. And it can, I would say it can happen anywhere. It happens anywhere. But, you know, I think how we kind of deal with how, when people are calling us out, particularly women, how people are calling us out is, it's really up to discussion. Yeah. I would say it's very much a part of this discussion. Do you just put your eyes down and continue walking on the street, or do you actually call out the person and say what you have said is very, very inappropriate?
Yeah. Something happened the past week that prompted us to bring this up as a topic of conversation. In the Caribbean, I think in Trinidad and other Caribbean islands, there were marches and activities around the issue of sexual harassment and women demanding that they be treated with more respect and differently. Can you talk a little about that, if you know about it?
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about it. So I was on Twitter recently, and I actually saw one of the marches. I believe it was taking place in Kingston, Jamaica. And I thought it was great because as women, we are our only defense. Because in this society, it's really seen as, unfortunately, man versus woman in terms of, you know, who holds the power or who controls what. And I think for so long, men have felt entitled, or they just feel that they own a part of our bodies or own us in a sense. And I think that these marches along with social media and, you know, articles online and the internet, it allows for awareness to be spread. It allows for more people to join the cause. It allows for conversations like this to be brought up and talk about why these incidents keep happening. What's the thought process behind them? Why are people allowing this to continue to happen? So I think these marches are something that are very necessary, and I think that as they, you know, grow more grassroots support, that they'll be more effective.
I agree, definitely. Well, I learned about the marches from doing a simple Google search. I was just looking up current event in the Caribbean, and I came across this march called Life in Leggings, #Life in Leggings, and a group, these amazing women who are coming together in all these different islands to protest against sexual harassment, sexual abuse, rape in the region as a whole. And I think it's also very important to say that this march was conducted in solidarity with other organizations and other events that happen in the Caribbean. So, for example, there is an organization, I believe, called Tambourine Army. And this happened because, unfortunately, a girl was raped in Jamaica by her pastor. We should also say that sexual harassment, abuse, sexual violence, it often happens with with a perpetrator that knows the victim. And that's very, very important to say. But this group of women, I think 14 or 15 women, they went to the church. They heard about what happened to this 15-year-old girl. They went to the church, they sat in the church, and basically they told the pastor off. Another pastor came, tried to say something. These women hit him on top of the head with a tambourine. And thus you have Tambourine Army. Okay. And in solidarity, you have the Life in Leggings movement, the Tambourine Army, and all these other women coming together. So it's, as Kristen was saying with the grassroots, it's just so important to get the ball rolling on this, yeah. Right? That women, we have a voice.
Yeah, that's true. Do you see social media as being a game changer in this whole dynamic?
I think definitely social media is one of it's so you can say social media is a bad thing and a good thing, but it can be used when used with its proper potential. It can be used for great things. Like Rose was mentioning, the Life in Leggings hashtag, it's a movement, but it was started in Barbados, I believe. And then within a day, it reached so many women in Barbados and then moved over to, or I guess extended itself to Trinidad and Tobago. And it just shows that without that, how would you have that support? How would you get support from all these women in different islands? And it shows that you're not alone. Your struggle isn't unique to you. There's something that we can all connect to. And I think that allows for the movement to grow and awareness to grow.
Okay. I'm curious if you've had conversations with your peers, men in particular, what are their reactions to this? Do you find them to be sympathetic? Are they allies, or are they basically holding on to fast-held ideas about the traditional male-female relationship and dynamic?
Well, actually, I have had conversations with my peers, both men and women, and I'm very thankful to know people who are open-minded, but also understand. They understand gender and how important it is for women and men to have equal rights, and that including equal rights over their bodies. So definitely having conversations with people my age. I also, personally speaking, I substitute teach at a local middle school in Richmond, Virginia. And I think investing in girls and their education, and I mean, this is even outside of math or science or history, but actually talking about education and issues that could personally affect them physically or mentally is just very, very important. So I even choose to have these conversations with girls at the middle school age level, and even about safety as well, walking home at night, maybe carrying a alarm. So it's very important.
I think that these conversations, well, I have conversations with my male friends. With my male friends, I would say they don't really engage in this sort of, activity. So it's hard to really get a perspective from men who do this. But I will say, talking with other women, I guess the conversation, it's sort of just like a worn out one, in the sense that as women, we grow up, we feel that we have to just train ourselves to, act a certain way, walk a certain way. When you're going home, you have to do this. When you're going out, you can't wear certain clothes. And it's just something that's ingrained in us that I guess guys don't really understand because they don't have to go through it. So they're like, my friends, they will say, oh yeah, it's fine. I could just walk home. Like, it's okay if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But for women, we have to say, okay, who's going to be out? Do you think there's going to be a lot of people out? Do you know what kind of people are going to be out? Is it better to take a taxi? Is it safe to take a taxi? Should I take the bus? Should I stay on the phone with someone while I'm walking home? Do I have something to protect myself? So I would say these conversations more so happen between women because we understand, and I guess we can see both sides, but men, it's harder for them to really see both sides. Like, say I'm wearing certain clothes, or it's the summertime and it's hot outside, but my mom will tell me like, oh no, I can't wear that while I'm here because you never know who's outside, or you just don't want to attract certain attention. But it's like, why can't I wear what I want to wear? Why do I have to think before I do things? And I think that's really a conversation between women, that we have to really think before we do certain things.
And I think it's also important, we can also have a conversation about this a bit later too, but it's also important for us to realize that sometimes with these conversations, in terms of what particular type of women, and when I say type of woman, I'm mostly talking in regards to class and also to race as well. And it's really, really important to actually have a discussion about this, and particularly women living in Black bodies, right? So women who oftentimes are quite seen as sexualized, based off of the color of their skin. And that has a lot to do with historical issues that we have faced in the United States and also in the Caribbean region as well. Women who may have are abused, but people might not believe them based off of their class, or even sometimes based off of their race. We had an issue in the United States, for example, with a police officer, unfortunately, who raped several Black women. And it was very, very slow to trickle down. Finally, he was arrested. He is in jail, serving, I believe, life in prison. But
62 years.
You do question how that it's not even a question, but the fact that we need to have these conversations discussing that there are some women's bodies who are perceived as being worth more than others. And it's so important to just have this conversation in general, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering, based on your experiences, your conversations, what are some ways that women can empower themselves to protect themselves against this?
Well, one thing I did, my school, they offered a self-defense class and it was only for women. So I took that and I felt like that's something that's just good knowledge to have in order to protect yourself, but also educating yourself as well as other women. Let people always know where you are. And by that, I mean someone you trust. Don't put on the internet everywhere you're going, because then, people can follow you, people can stalk you. Be always aware of your surroundings. When I'm walking home at night, I never have my headphones in. I like to be aware of everyone that's around me. If possible, walk with someone. If not possible, let someone know where you're going. My grandma always tells me, never keep your phone out, because someone can try to attack you for your phone, but you can keep it in your pocket. Say if you need to call like the police. They also have apps where you can, like, if you press and hold the button and you hold it until you get to your destination, and then once you get in, you turn it off. Like, the technology is there to help that you can use, as well as just really being aware of your surroundings and using your friends, using that community as women, or even reaching out to your guy friends saying, hey, I'm going to this place, or I'll be home in 20 minutes. Just, make sure that you call me when I get home, or I'll call you when I get home. And if not, see if I'm okay.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And those were actually what I did when I was in undergraduate school and also graduate school. It's always so important to have your phone charged and to have it on at all times. Again, like if you have to walk alone at night, if you're coming home from the library or anywhere, and you don't have money for a taxi, or you have to walk home at night on the campus or on the street, I carry an alarm with me. Only because I can control my actions and where I'm going, but you can't always trust other people. And that's very unfortunate, but it's true. I also think just having an open conversation, it's so important for parents to have conversations with their children, both girls and boys, regarding sexual assault, regarding sexual harassment. These are conversations that need to start early. Early, not even just at the college level. I'm talking high school, middle school level, elementary school level, that you do not touch anyone. You do not touch anyone without their consent. Even if that person is drunk, flat out on the floor, my opinion is, if they are, you call 911 to make sure they're okay, but don't even think about touching him or her. So.
Yeah.
And then speaking of that, in terms of consent is so important.
Yeah.
And I saw this advertisement recently saying that if I can't say no, then I can't say yes. So I think that's another thing to include in those conversations that we have, peers as well as other children.
Okay. So based on what you're seeing in your communities, in your homes, are you hopeful of significant and widespread change around this issue? And I guess I would add to that, if you have thought of some instruments or some mechanisms that can help to improve the situation and decrease the problem that exists around sexual harassment.
Actually, I feel that I am this, this whole year has been a year of incredible change. In many ways, it's been a very shocking year already. But I'm very confident from what I've seen in the United States and also the Caribbean. I'm confident that change is coming and that women are at the forefront. We're not afraid to speak out. We're not afraid to speak out against injustice. We're not afraid to speak out against, issues facing our neighborhood, because this is about protecting ourselves, our children, our families, our community.
I agree. It is more than us. And I think that as women, we see the bigger picture, that we're fighting for ourselves, but it has effects on everyone else. Like, it has effects on the community, our children, our families, our loved ones. And I do think that with our support, and I can see the change and the support and the empowerment of women, in the past days, and I can see it only getting better in the future. I think that if we continue to fight and realize that we have power, our voices do matter, that we can, stand our ground and get what we deserve for women as well as for all people.
And yeah, that is true. One of the beauties of my job, going out to cover like Black Lives Matter and the beautiful, wonderful Women's March in Washington the day after inauguration, women are the ones who are powering these demonstrations, these rallies, these marches, and they're the ones who put themselves on the front lines to effect change. So it can only bode well for us all when women continue doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem.
Rose, you can take us on out.
Okay. Well, I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. I believe this is the first one for 2017, and there are going to definitely be more to come, more extensive conversations from changing every single day in the region and here in the United States.
Cool.
So thank you so much for joining us. Please go to Caribbean Returning Nationals. You can find us on the internet. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, but go to our page and support us. Thank you.